On this episode of King of the Court, all the players on both sides, PPA and MLP, and they've asked them to take pay cuts. I think it is important to see what is and isn't legal.
Will be interesting to see what happens there. There have been two premier players that have not accepted the pay cuts. Everybody else has. Thank you for joining us on this episode of King of the Court. I am broadcasting from Oahu, from Hawaii, and I'm super thrilled to be here. It's beautiful weather. You can't really see that from right here. Beautiful weather out here, and Jimmy is in a little bit colder area in Utah. Has it been snowing there?
It's beautiful. Crisp 22 degrees right now. Snow, ice. Yeah, so I'm a little bit jealous that you're in Oahu.
Okay. All right, let's get into it. So hopefully, we say this a lot, but hopefully this one will be a little bit shorter. We're going to get a little bit more time to answer your guys' questions. But first and foremost, we would still like to start off with our title sponsor, the Pickler. Jimmy, who is the Pickler?
Pickler is our favorite and the best indoor pickleball facility in all the land.
Do you know how many franchises they've sold?
No, what are we up to these days?
There are over 150 that they've allocated to people. That's crazy. Do you know what that means?
150 franchises. That means everywhere you go, you can find a Pickler.
A lot of pickleball.
Is there more Pickler franchises than
McDonald's? No.
Like not McDonald's, but like In-N-Out?
Come on, man.
In-N-Out's just West Coast.
No, they spread. They used to just be West Coast. They're a lot more broad now.
More Pickler franchises than Wingstops.
No. Yeah, okay. We'll move on. Jimmy's not.
There's a lot of Picklers. They're everywhere. They're clean. They're designed well. The biggest thing about them is there's plenty of court spacing. Every court is a championship court. They have fencing. There's nothing better if you're going to play indoor pickleball. We've seen plenty of indoor facilities that just aren't quite as well done. They're kind of thrown together. The Pickler, they pull out all the stops. So check them out. Thepickler.com.
Awesome.
And their e-commerce platform, picklershop.com.
Exactly. If you are in search of a new paddle, doesn't matter what brand, go check out thepicklershop.com and use code KOTC to save yourself a little bit at checkout and support the show. All right, let's get into it. So, Jimmy, where do we find ourselves in the pickleball landscape?
So, pickleball landscape is a little bit interesting because we just found out we weren't sure what was going to happen with MLP, right? MLP, they did an abbreviated version of the last MLP event, the playoffs, 4 premier teams, 3 challenger teams. So 7 out of the 24 teams showed up. And then we weren't sure what was going to happen going to 2024. So we find out that they've approached all the players on both sides, PPA and MLP, and they've asked them to take pay cuts from the contracts they just negotiated in August. So the thinking behind that is that they can cut some salary. It makes the league a little more viable. It gets them to profitability sooner.
And supposedly this is supposed to correlate with the amount of days that you were working. And so they like to frame it as it's not a reduction in the salary, it's a reduction in the amount of days and your expectations that you were supposed to meet.
Yes, because right now, MLP, for example, the deals that were signed with MLP are for 200 MLP days.
Most people, I think there were a couple people that negotiated theirs a little bit differently, but the standard was 200 days.
Yeah, and so travel is included in those days. And then obviously while you're at any MLP events, which means that most teams, you're probably looking at 50 to 60 actual playing days. And then that means most teams have you under team control for 100 plus days.
Yeah.
Which, they could send you to corporate clinics. They could send you to events. They could have you do appearances, all of those things. And so what they did was they said, look, it's a lot of days and you got a lot of salary. So what we're going to do is they send out an email and we're going to cut you 40%. The email said, and it is optional. Let's just be clear. The email does say it's optional. I would say that it's strong-armed optional, but they said we will cut you 40%, but we'll also cut your days down to 120. So if you were making 300,000 a year, now you're going to make 180,000.
Do some math, Jimmy. Do some math for us right now.
Yeah, if you're making 300, now you're going to make 180 right off the top of my head. Boom. But you're also only working 120 days. That gives you more math, 245 days a year to go do whatever you want, to go work a day job, to go do your own clinics, to go run your own, So you're being asked to work a third of the year for whatever that is. Now, with that being said, I think that you promise these contracts to the players, and now you're coming back 3 months later after they trusted you and asking them to cut salaries. I think that it becomes a little bit of a gray area. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, you had to know that they couldn't come through with this. You had to know that, it was fake money, but they didn't know. And whether they did or they didn't, they still trusted the ownership on both sides, MLP and PPA.
Yeah.
So,
actually both of us had a legend of the game reach out to us directly. And I don't know if he sent you, I haven't even asked you about this, but he sent me a pretty long email that he wanted us to discuss. So I think maybe we'll save that for another time. But he goes into all the legalities of everything that's been going on, and he makes a lot of good points. And so, we can definitely get into that another time. But yeah, he just talks about what's legal, what's actually legal, and what's not. So
yeah, and I would love to discuss that. Maybe on our next episode we discuss that, because I think it is important to see what is and isn't legal. Like I said, the cuts are technically voluntary. However, it does state that if you're an MLP player and you do not accept the cut, you're not guaranteed that you can play any PPAs.
Yeah.
And then essentially the rest of the days that you're required to work. So you got to imagine if there's going to be 12 MLPs, you're probably working anywhere from 45 to 50 days.
And I heard a couple players that said, hey, we're actually in the opposite boat. We actually want to work and play more than what you've offered us. What happens in that situation?
Yeah, exactly. And so essentially, if you choose just to play MLPs, you do not, and there are players that have chosen not to take a cut. There's Premier League players that have refused the cut.
So I have info, and they said that there have been 2 Premier players that have not accepted the pay cuts. Everybody else has.
Okay. So you have 2 that haven't accepted.
Who do you think those 2 are?
Oh, I think that we all know at least one of them. Are we going to say?
I don't know. I don't know if you know. Do you know?
I would guess, but I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I think I could guess at least one.
All right. Who would that one guess be if you do not know?
If I had to guess, just based on past history, based off of their feelings towards the PPA and maybe their feelings towards Connor Pardo, I would guess that one of those is Zane.
Okay. But he wasn't a PPA player. He's an MLP.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm talking about PPA players.
Oh, who have not accepted a cut?
Who have not accepted them.
Okay. Well, then I would say on the PPA side of things, I don't know. I would say maybe if there's somebody that maybe was kicking back because they weren't happy, like maybe Jay.
Interesting.
But I don't know. That's just a totally random guess.
Yeah. Gotcha. So, yeah, I think there's 2 total is what I've been told. I don't know if that information is public, so I am going to keep it that way. And then on the other side, on the MLP side, I hear there are 3 people that are really being a little bit more not as easygoing as the other people. And so will be interesting to see what happens there. And I think that first person that you said was in one of those 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if his contract is what we've heard it is, and it's low,
from what we've heard, his initial contract was very low.
It was one of the
what?
Yes, very low.
Yeah. So
and he's an MLP champion.
Yeah.
So I would see why he would kick back on a cut like that.
Okay, so moving on. I I
Okay.
don't I actually don't enjoy talking about this, but we're going to talk about your favorite person, Jimmy, and it's the person that forced us to start this podcast.
Okay.
Who is it?
Jilly B.
Do you know what's going on with her at the moment? I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot always.
So just real quick. So I think that Jill is, I mean, she's fighting the good fight. Like, I can't knock her
Is
for
it a good
this.
fight?
Well, for her, it is. Like, if it's obviously something that she feels very strongly about, because the reality is she's putting her career on the line, right? The stuff that Jill has been bringing up recently is pretty like damning stuff if, you know, the evidence ends up coming out and being true, right?
Like
If
what
they
stuff?
Well, like if there really are sexual harassment claims that have been, you know, I mean, I guess there's been complaints filed, right? Did
Yeah,
they
but
really?
most of that stuff is not against the PPA.
No, it's not, but they did still allow, certain refs to ref when they weren't allowing others because of conduct, right? Personal conduct policy. The other thing is did they actually change paddle testing, right? The standards
Sure.
mid tournament. Did Connor, did he or did he not know about Irina not turning in her paddle? You know, I mean, those things, I don't think that we'll ever get answers to those if you really want to know the truth. But she seems to obviously be beating the drum on one side, and then obviously PPA has their own version of it. But with this, what she's doing now, what we've been told, and I have not been on any of these phone calls, let me just be very clear. So I actually don't know 100% what the end game is. So I'm going to make assumptions here, which is never a good idea, but that's what I do. So
Jimmy
Jill
Miller
has
making assumptions.
so Jill has essentially got players together, and she's tried to create a player collective. Now she's been clear that this is not a union, but she wants the players to have a voice, a combined voice. And I don't know if these players are trying to have a combined voice to blow up the merger. Are they trying to have a combined voice to where they go and say, hey, there's 30, 40, 50 of us. We'll take a 10% cut instead of a 40% cut? Or if she just wants the players to be unified in some
Yeah.
way moving forward, right? Because I have said in the past that it is a little bit interesting that it's this player's livelihood, right? This and Leia made this very clear on Twitter, and I don't disagree with Leia at all. This isn't my livelihood, okay? Right? Like, as much as pickleball has become a part of my life, it's not my livelihood. I'm not a pro pickleball player. I'm very aware of who I am, but it is your livelihood.
Let me put this out there in a little bit of defense for you. I mean, a lot of people recently have claimed Big Pickle. We like to joke about that, but Big Pickle has gotten to you. Sometimes people complain that you were for PPA, and other people claim that you were for MLP. What I'm going to put out there is you are for the players for the most part. I cannot tell you how many players have contacted you, Jimmy, and you've done what is best for those players. You've given those players $20,000 to $50,000 worth of contracts that they would have never seen before. Not only one person, multiple people. And so a lot of times you might tell, hey, this player you should go here, and this other player you might do better over here. And so I just wanted to put that out there because a lot of people recently have been saying, oh, you're for PPA, oh, you're for MLP. And so I think you're for the players. You're wanting what's best for the players.
I would like honestly, at the end of the day, like that's what I would like to be known for, and that's what I hope. I want the players. Yeah, this is like I said, this is your livelihood. This is how you feed your family. And I'm obviously a big fan because I'm in awe of your guys' talent, and that's why I'm where I'm at. That's why I'm such a fan of pickleball. That's how this all started.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, Jill, I feel like, is starting this collective. She's trying to give the players a voice. She's trying to come up with, a group of players where they can essentially say, there's strength in numbers, right? Now, I don't know what they've talked about. I haven't been on the phone calls. I haven't even attempted to. I think that, I respect what she's doing, but I actually don't know what the end game is, if you really want to know the truth.
So I heard that there are about 12 challenger players that were on the phone call, and then also
Uh-huh.
12 non-drafted players that were also on the phone call. So you're looking anywhere from 25 to 30-ish players.
So are there any big name, high level premier players that are backing her on this? I don't know. I'm asking.
Yeah. So I think the obvious ones are Jill, is she's kind of the leader. She's taken it upon herself to lead this collective, is what I think they're calling it. How do you like that name, collective?
I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, it's all encompassing.
And
Yeah.
then I think Zane and maybe Irina might be helping out in some aspect.
Yeah. So she does have some name players on there, but I do think that there is more clout. She would have more clout, and she'd probably have more if she could get, obviously, a Ben, a J Dub, a Dylan, a Riley, a Jade, a
Yeah.
Jackie, Anna Bright, James, people like that. Because I think that they're the ones, not that Irina and Zane aren't great players and not that they're not very respected, but I think that you need people that, if they're willing to boycott, or they're willing to sit out, or they're willing to do whatever it takes to reach whatever this goal is that they're set out to do, that it would actually, it would hurt the tour.
Yeah.
And so, hope, we'll see. Like, I think that's what maybe that's what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
is to get those players, because we do know that there have been 40 or 48 that have agreed, but nobody has actually signed anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not been anything signed. It's all been verbally agreed to, but
Yeah.
nobody
That's
has
true.
signed a new contract at this point.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. The pickleball landscape is, I mean, it's almost becoming a real sport. I kind of love it.
It's almost becoming almost.
I mean, it's like,
hey,
there's.
Did you see that baseball player? The one that just signed like a $700 million contract?
Shohei Ohtani.
How good is he?
I mean, let me tell you why Ohtani is so good is because
$700 million.
Yeah, but he pitches
almost as big as mine.
The problem is he's one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's also one of the best hitters in baseball. And that's what makes him so valuable. Nobody's ever done what he does. Like, essentially, Babe Ruth was the guy that could pitch and hit, and Ohtani's the only guy since.
Interesting. So, that's a little bit of money there.
I mean, he could buy MLP and PPA. Do you think he likes pickleball?
He could buy a couple teams. The numbers keep going up, so.
Yeah. I mean, we would sell him a part of the Black Bears.
Yeah.
He's interested. Ohtani, how do people call him?
So how do you think that's going to turn out for those guys?
I mean, I think that if you're making 100,000, 80,000, 70,000 a year, right? If it is true that there's 12 challenger and 12 people that were undrafted, their contracts are probably 150 or less. Okay. That would be my guess, knowing what I know about contracts. And I think if somebody came to me and said, you need to take a 40% cut, that's a huge chunk. And it's probably the difference between these players playing pickleball full time and not, right?
The only thing that I would counter to that is they would be making significantly less. That's a huge amount. However, the amount of requirement, the days off, everything like that, that would increase. So if they were smart, or if they could pick up another job, there's that.
But the point is even though you have those days off, you still want to train full time. Right?
Yes, exactly.
And so I think that the difference between that is that it's the difference between playing full time and not. And if I'm making 100, right, I can probably play full time. If I'm 26, 27, 28, 100,000 a year, I can make it work. I can play full time. I can take that next step.
Yeah.
If I'm making 60, makes it a lot more difficult. And so I think at that point, you don't have a lot to lose.
Yep.
Because if you're going to pay me 40, 50, 60, or I'm going to get screwed and have to work 200 days and you're going to pay me 0, then fine, pay me 100 to teach clinics and I'll go play APPs if I can. Because I know a lot of these players have APP outs as well. So I do think that, if you're that level of a player, it might be worth the gamble. Now, if I'm making 750,000, I don't know if I'm, risking. I'll take my,
They can cut.
200.
They can cut those players 50%, 60%. They're still doing good.
I'll take my cut. I'll make my $500,000 a year or whatever it ends up being. I won't be happy because it's a hell of a lot of money,
Yeah.
but I don't think that I'm going to risk my career for it.
Yeah.
Just my own personal opinion. So
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but I get it. I get what she's doing. I totally understand. I am curious how it works out. I'm curious what happens with it. And I mean, again, she has been a big voice the last couple of weeks. She's not held anything back, so we'll see what happens. I can't imagine that anybody's on the tour side is happy about it.
Yeah, and I mean, we keep thinking that things are going to get wrapped up. There's going to be solutions. Then there are, and then something else comes up. But I would imagine with this movement, if you want to call it that, with this collective, I would imagine within the next 2 weeks maximum, maybe even 1 week, there will be a resolution. There will be an ending towards it, because we're already December 10th, December 11th. Like,
the first PPA event is what, 4 weeks away?
3-4 weeks away. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you got to fix, and then I think the first MLP event's in February. So you got to wrap this up pretty quick. You got to figure it out. I was told that their number was $10 million in cuts, and they were at 9.4.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're pretty close, but we'll see. Again, these are verbal.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything else with regards to everything that's been going on with the MLP cuts, PPA cuts?
No, I mean, I think, like I said, we'll see how it goes. I think that probably some people realize that, might have been too good to be true, but I don't think it makes it any easier.
Yeah.
And then I think some other players, they were on the lower end, right? Because we know some high level players that were on the lower end of some of these deals. Their contracts weren't necessarily as inflated.
Yeah.
I can see why they're upset. So
yeah. This one guy that was emailing me, this older pickleball player, he wanted to correct us because you and I keep saying the term inflated numbers. And he said the numbers aren't inflated. That's what market value is. That's what market value was at the time. And so I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, listen, like people say, the team values on MLP are inflated, right? They're like, what are you buying, or what are these teams actually worth? But I mean, the teams are worth what someone's willing to pay.
Yeah.
And we have had people invest at $10, $11 million valuations, like literally cut checks at $10 to $11 million valuations on some of these teams. So, I mean, it's what people are willing to pay.
Okay.
For sure.
All right, moving on. But first and foremost, this next segment is sponsored by our new sponsor, C&D Pickleball Nets. These are the best nets out there available. Yes. Jimmy, give us a 20-second rundown on C&D Pickleball Nets.
So I actually went and played pickleball today at someone's house, their nice indoor facility. And one thing that really bothered me was that you could not roll the ball under the net. Okay. I know that sounds something that, like, you don't think it's that big of a deal, but it really is. And C&D nets, you can roll the ball under the net. Okay. No, they're all welded. Okay. We don't have any bolts and screws and things like that. 10-year warranties.
Yeah.
High quality, high quality nets. I can't emphasize this enough, that how high quality these are. The nets that you do purchase that are on wheels, you could actually, I was moving them with 2 fingers.
Yeah.
Well, if grandma wants to play with her friends, she can easily roll the net out onto the court, play with it, roll it back. They also have the other semi-permanent nets that will, are freestanding. So those are available as well. I mean, they're the best nets on the market.
And super good people. The really good customer service, really nice. They care about the game.
Yes, huge fans, passion for the game. They actually got into the game, started playing, and then they were like, we want to invest in pickleball somehow.
Yeah.
And they found these nets, and they've just been blowing it up ever since. So I mean, I can't emphasize enough. Like we are very particular about what we are willing to promote on the show. Like it sounds pretentious, but we do get lots of offers, and we're particular about what we choose. And these were the best nets on the market.
Go check them out. What is their website?
Bestpickleballnets.com.
And use code KOTC to save yourself some
Yeah.
money. All right.
Yes.
Moving on. So we are going into real quick. Guess who we have partnering up next year with Jack Sock?
Catherine, big CP.
Catherine
right?
Parento. What are your predictions with them?
I think that Jack Sock is just, I mean, the dude lands on his feet. You get Annalie, your first tournament, you get Tyson, which they didn't do as well, but they still not bad partners. I mean, we always talk about how partners are really hard to come by. You know this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we always talk about how difficult it is. And Jack Sock, I mean, coming over from tennis, being a top 10 player, was able to snag a good one.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know who he's partnering with in men's, but I heard that it's not a top 10 player.
Yeah, I don't know if it's confirmed, but I heard the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he is getting Catherine. I mean, I would say that at this point in pickleball, it's Annalie number 1, Catherine number 2.
Yeah.
PPA
just posted that Catherine she is officially the second most decorated female.
Yeah, 30, right? 30,
yeah, something like that, 33.
30 career wins. So, yeah, I think that's huge for Jack. I do think it's going to take some time for them to gel and mesh. And Jack, we don't know. Has Jack been grinding? How hard he's been working? Who's he been playing with? I mean, if he just had a baby, or his wife had a baby. If he's in North Carolina and he's grinding with Roddy and Dobrin, I mean, those guys are good, but they're not the high level players that,
they beat him and Tyson in North Carolina.
They did. And we haven't heard from him since. Although who one of them bought a van and went full-time pickleball, didn't he? Which one was that? Was that Roddy or Dobrin?
I don't know.
But Roddy's a Dolphins fan, so I like him for that reason only.
Okay.
Anyways,
do you think they do well, or do you think it'll take them a while?
I think it's going to take them a while. I don't think they're going to medal like at Masters, but I do think, I mean, the thing is Catherine's good enough. But I think we're not going to see the dominance. Like it's just going to be like, it's going to be like Catherine and Tyson, right? Some tournaments they lost in the quarters. Other tournaments, they would make it to the semis. They made a few finals.
With Catherine's high enough points, they should be getting fairly favorable draws to begin with.
Yeah.
So
that will help. But I do think that they're not.
My question is, I think they committed for the full year, but obviously, if things aren't going well, how long does it take for them to split up? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 8 months? Or do they just write it out? I can't imagine Catherine writing a full year out if they're not having success.
I would say that if they don't have success by June, they're split up.
And what do you count as success? Quarters, semis, top 10?
No, I think that they've got to be medaling.
Really?
I think they have to consistently be medaling, yeah.
Okay.
Well, the thing is Catherine can choose whoever she wants.
Yeah.
Right? And so she chose Jack. I don't think Jack chose her. I think
Do you think that was Jack. A marketing play at all by Selkirk? Or do you think...
for sure. I think Selkirk probably pushed it a little bit. I think that Catherine also thinks that Jack has a ton of potential. And look, Catherine played with Riley. Catherine played with Tyson. Catherine's played with a lot of other players, and she's not beating Ben and Annalie. So can she beat Ben and Annalie with Jack Sock? I don't think so, but it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
Grind it out for 6 months, see how they do. It's worth a shot.
Gotcha. Do you want to know who I'm playing mixed doubles with?
I actually am really interesting to know because you said it was a big name.
It is a big name. It's probably bigger than Jack Sock in terms of exposure, popularity.
Oh, okay.
So
who are you supposed to be
for Masters? So it's only for one tournament, and so we're going to kind of see how it goes. But I am going to be playing with Jeannie Bouchard.
Ooh, okay. Wait, does your wife know?
Supposedly.
Does your wife know you're playing with Jeannie Bouchard?
She was not happy. Just kidding. She knows.
I mean, talk about exposure.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting because I looked at her story the other day, Jeannie's, and it looks like she's still at a tennis tournament. So I don't know how much pickleball she's been playing or how much
Yeah.
experience she has, but I'm super excited to play with her. It should be fun.
Can we get Jeannie on the pod?
Uh, depends. Maybe we'll have to get this first tournament and see how it goes.
I think we need Jeannie on the pod to talk about her pickleball days.
How do you think she'll do as a pickleball player?
I mean, I think that she's going to be just like every other tennis player. No, Jeannie is like Jack Sock, where her level of tennis, she played at the highest level, right? Like, would she make the Wimbledon? Was it the finals?
I think it was U.S. Open and then maybe
I mean,
one other tournament. I'm not sure which one, but I'm
I know
pretty sure
U.S.
U.S.
Open
Open.
was where she got hurt and slipped down the steps or whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
she was playing at a very, very, very high level.
yeah.
I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm curious what her highest world, her ranking was, but I mean, she's a high level tennis player. So I do think that Jeannie Bouchard her highest was number 5.
Wow.
That's pretty freaking good. So yeah, I think that Jeannie Bouchard is, a different level than other players coming over from tennis. So she should do well, but we all know the pickleball is a different sport, right? And how much pickleball has she been playing? And are people just going to slow her down? She's not going to be able to hit the ball through people. So it should
She
be
should
interesting.
she should do singles. I'd be
She's
interested
good.
to see if
Is she
she
playing
does
women's
singles.
doubles as well?
I would imagine so, but I don't know.
I wonder who she's playing women's with.
Yeah. So should be
Anyways,
fun.
yeah,
Should be fun, and she's Canadian, so you need to
yeah.
talk about her even more, and you'll get even more Canadian fans, Jimmy.
We love Canadians. And also, Jeannie, come on the pod. We would like to tap into those 1 million Instagram followers. Thanks. Thanks in
All right,
advance.
awesome. Okay, anything else? We're going to get into questions if there's no
Just one
other.
thing, real quick, that we just didn't mention was MLP Premier Challenger. They did a bidding process, and
They did.
we'll go through this very quick. But essentially, we didn't know if they were going to do a Premier Challenger for 2024 or if there's all going to be one league. And they decided to do it because basically they were like Ben Johns playing with Martin Emmerich isn't a good look. Not that Martin Emmerich is a bad example, but
Are you using
essentially,
him because they beat you?
yeah, he smacked us. Ben Johns playing with, whoever that player is. They felt like the talent gap is just too big at this point.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to do Premier and Challenger. So one way to do that, they decided to do what they call a Dutch auction. So everybody puts in a bid. It's
A
a
blind bid.
blind bid, and the 12th highest bid is what the top 12 teams end up paying for their spot in Premier. Now you could essentially put in a $5 million bid and then still pay what the 12th was. The problem is, what if 11 teams put in a $5 million bid? And then you're stuck paying the $5 million, right?
Yep.
So highest bid, I think we were told, was 1.2 million, and it went all the way down to, actually the top 11 were all over 500,000, and then number 12 was 400. So that
Yep.
actually saved number 12 coming in at 400 actually saved every team $100,000.
Yeah.
And so those top 12 teams are paying 400,000 to be in Premier. The bottom 12 are going to be in Challenger. But this is the thing that people don't understand. They're like, do you not think that it was worth the investment? You're not just paying the 400. You also have to pay. Now they're doing an auction style draft for Premier, and you get 500,000 hypothetical dollars, and then 500,000. You can spend up to 500,000 real dollars for players.
And for Premier and Challenger, or just Premier?
Just for Premier.
Okay.
And that's for your first 2 players. So now you spend 500,000 there. You spend 400,000 on this. You have your other league fees, team fees. You're $1 million plus to be in Premier next year. Okay. Where in 2025, 4 Challenger teams are automatically going to move up to Premier, and they're not going to do relegation. So it's going to be 16-8 going into 2025. So you can pay the Challenger fees, which are like $100,000, and ride out Challenger for a year. And then if you're good, you get into Premier and save yourself $1 million plus.
Yeah.
And the reality is if the league folds, you're out $1 million plus as well. So I see why a lot of teams weren't willing to put up huge amounts of money to get into Premier.
What do you think the
When
lowest amount that a team bid
oh,
their bid was?
I know what I saw it.
What was it?
It was $7,000.
Seven
Seven
thousand
seven.
seven hundred $7,777.
Yeah, yeah. And so our team, I won't mention the amount because I think that these bids were supposed to be private. But the Black Bears ended up 13th, so we were one spot away.
You
But
guys
we're
just don't
pretty
really
happy.
care about MLP, do you?
No, I guess not. But we're happy because no one's gonna outdraft us, Tyler. No, we're gonna be in
TBD.
Premier in a year anyways. No one's gonna outdraft us. I mean, I think it's still exciting. And then the whole goal is by 2027, the talent gap shrinks and everybody's in Premier. It's all one league. So if you think that your team values are going to be worth that much in a year, Premier to Challenger, then yeah, it's worth the investment. Or maybe for you, you just feel like, you know, you want to coach or manage or run a Premier level team. But yeah.
So I think it's kind of interesting. I mean, there's always been the PPA versus MLP versus APP, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
the names have been released for the top 12 teams. But there's
Yeah.
been quite a few of the teams that did not make it into the top 12 that didn't bid that high amount that are very for MLP. They believe in MLP, but yet they weren't willing to put the money where their mouth is. Did you think that
Yeah.
was interesting?
I think it was interesting, but I think that those teams were being probably a little bit more strategic in terms of it. The interesting thing is, I would say that the best GMs, and this might get me in trouble, but the best GMs are in Challenger.
Oof. Is that
If
just
I
because you're there? Is that why you're thinking that?
no, take me out of it, and if you have to rank the top 5 GMs, I would say that 4 of the 5 are probably in Challenger.
All right.
I mean, and so that's going to make Challenger really competitive, to be honest. And the rumors are that Challenger is going to have 6 players, which is going to make things even crazier because now you're going to draft 6. You can maybe, I don't know, do you draft a single specialist? Do you draft, how do you do things? So it's going to be fun. I'm excited for it. Hopefully all this other stuff gets worked out and we can just freaking focus on the pickleball. And I mean, MLP just raised $4.8 million. So that's an easy way to raise money.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Cool.
Moving on. Great segment. And thank you to our sponsor, C&D Pickleball Nets. We're going to move into questions. So we've got quite a few questions that came in. So we're going to answer those. And thank you, Crown Pickleballs, for sponsoring this segment of the episode. We love Crown Pickleballs. Now that the weather is getting colder, make sure you go check out those balls so that they do not crack. They're going to last a lot longer than competitors. Jimmy, what are your thoughts with Crown Pickleballs?
Yeah, so I am a big Crown fan. I used them today. Played pickleball today. Used the Crown all day long. We played for 2.5 hours. We played indoors, but there's no heat. So, I mean, it was probably in the 50s, I would guess, indoors. 50s, mid 50s. Had no issues. Didn't get that fuzzy ball syndrome that you get with other balls. No cracks. They didn't fall out of, they stayed in round. Yeah, they're not indestructible, but they're the best thing that I've found on the market to this point.
What's the website?
crownpickleball.store.
There we go. Use code KOTC to save yourself some money at checkout and to get yourself some really, really good pickleballs. All right.
Yeah.
So we had quite a few questions come in. Jimmy, you did as well. So let's just go through those and we will get those knocked out. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Somebody said, has your relationship with other players on the tour changed since your podcast success? Interesting. Actually, I don't think it has as much as a lot of people think it would. Jimmy, he seems to be the one always running his mouth. So sometimes he gets in trouble. Sometimes he gets me in trouble. But for the most part, I would say, at least to my knowledge, it hasn't really affected my relationship with most people. There's been 1 or 2 people that I think it has um, irritated, bothered, and they've been very vocal about it. And we've talked about them in the past. But for pretty much 90%, 80 to 90% of the other players, I think it's been a pretty good positive. Anything else you want to add in there, Jimmy?
No, I've obviously been to tournaments that you've been at. I think everybody's been chill, and I also I do one thing that we do get, and I don't know if you get this as much as I do, but I do get people that are like, they'll say something and then they'll be like, that doesn't go on the pod, or don't put this on the pod, but
Yeah.
so that always makes me laugh.
Oh, I'm
Because
going to put this out there right now. And guess who I'm playing with a couple of tournaments as of now next year?
who
Who do you think? Who is one of your favorite players?
one of my favorite?
Yeah.
I have lots of them. Julian Arnold.
Mr. Italiano.
Hey, you are really?
We're going to play in a couple tournaments.
Really?
Julian Arnold.
So I got a message. Let me talk about this real quick because I haven't replied to it yet. But I got a message from Lauren Stratman. Okay.
Oh.
And I just want to be really clear. So I'm going to tell Lauren this on the air. She said, Jimmy, someone messaged me. They said that you were saying Julian isn't Italian. I've never said that, just to be clear. I think you mentioned
like you
one.
have.
No, I don't know if he is or he isn't. I didn't even know Andiamo was Italian until you told me. Okay, like the most Italian thing that I know about is freaking
Olive Garden?
Unlimited salad and breadsticks at Olive Garden. Yeah. Okay, so she said, but just so you know, he is full Italian. His mom immigrated from Naples, Italy, and he spent all of his summers growing up with his family in Italy. She said, I just wanted to let you know. So Julian is Italian. He has full rights to yell Andiamo as much as he wants. I didn't know that, honestly. I don't think I've ever said he wasn't, but Arnold is definitely not Italian, but his mom is full Italian. So shout out to Julian. If he ever wants me to invite me to dinner at his mom's house, I'm in. Okay. I would love some ravioli. That's Italian, right?
All right. Somebody asked, I don't know what they're referring to. They said, I asked about TP being a cheater last week. I didn't hear audio from match. Please share.
Tim Parks?
I'm not. Oh, yeah. Must be. I'm assuming.
Sure.
Unless there's somebody else.
I don't know who else is TP.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we'll skip that.
Okay. I've got one. Jimmy, are they drafting again? This is from Robert Keith. Are they drafting again or opening up free agency? So they're going to do – the rumors right now is that they're going to do an auction for Premier where you can auction off the first 2 players, and then they'll draft the remaining 2 players. And then – but they'll auction off draft spots. So, like, you can spend whatever amount of money to buy the number 1 spot, but your cap is $1 million. And then in Challenger, they're going to do a full draft. So, yeah.
Jimmy, has any top 20 player confronted you at an event besides Rettmeyer?
No. I mean, no. I've had like some funny, like, I mean, Tyson said his piece to me once walking by me, but it wasn't anything crazy. Julian stared at me one time, which was kind of funny, but no, everyone's like, listen, I mean, at some point, maybe it's coming, but right now, so far, so good.
Jimmy, why was Jeannie Arokina hating on you at MLP?
Okay, so I don't know what happened, but she started doing this. She's like, cry. And she was like wigging out.
To you or your team?
So afterwards, I thought it was to Tina, which I thought was weird because Tina will wreck her, right? Like Tina would kill that poor woman. I thought it was to Tina, but then someone posted the video and she said, just to be clear, Jeannie responded and said, just to be clear, that wasn't to Tina, that was to their bench. Well, I was the only one on the bench at the time that she was facing. And maybe Alex was over there, but I don't think it was Alex. And so I don't know. Honestly, we weren't being loud. Like we were cheering, but we weren't being obnoxious. We weren't like heckling. We weren't talking smack. And so I don't know why she felt that way. I don't know if I honestly have no idea, but she was definitely fired up towards us, and she was happy about the win. But it was a terrible celebration. Like if you're gonna talk trash and like celebrate, like do something cool like this. It was dumb. Like do something cool.
Sounds like it got under your skin.
No, it was just a bad celebration. Like do like
Are you okay?
freaking talk smack, flip us off.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I mean my feelings are hurt because I had to watch it. It's horrible.
How did team owners or GMs get their jobs?
So most owners and GMs have a background in pickleball, right? Morgan Evans,
I would say
you know,
most, but in the very beginning, I wouldn't say that was the case. I think
yeah.
it's trending that way now, but I
The
think there were a
owners,
lot of teams.
yeah, and the owners, a lot of the owners are just guys that were pickleball fans,
Yeah.
right? And maybe they had a connection to Steve Kuhn, they heard about it. I mean, Tim Parks bought his team before he had ever played pickleball.
Yeah.
He had never played pickleball before when he bought the Hard Eights.
Yeah.
And invested. So, yeah, I mean, I think that, and now he's obviously loves the sport, but I do think that most of these guys had some connection, and then they all kind of. In fact, Richie was the one that told Tim about investing
Yeah.
in MLP. But most GMs, the majority have some connection to pickleball in some way.
Okay, so this is a good question. Why is everyone so high on Dylan Frazier? Doesn't he only medal when he plays with JW?
That is a good question. I think if you watch Dylan play, just watching him, you can see how quick his hands are. You can see how smart he is. You can see that he has all the skills and all the ability, right, to be a top player, and he is. And just because the fact that he plays with J-Dub, I mean, that doesn't take away from how good he is. I think that, Dylan's counters are good. I mean, him and J-Dub, they've been to the gold medal mats 9 times in a row. Now in
Yeah, but
mixed,
that's with J-Dub.
with J-Dub. But have you seen him play men's without J-Dub?
I think that's MLP, but MLP's different.
Yeah, MLP's a little bit different, right? And he played with Travis, and him and Travis weren't terrible. But in mixed, I think he does struggle a little bit. Now he's played with Lauren, he's played with Callie. He's playing with good top 10 partners, but more in like the 8 to 10. He's not playing with top
But
4.
that's the thing that I always harp on is partnerships matter so much. If I played, I did play with Ben Johnson. We had a very, very, very successful record. If I played with JW or these other players, I think I would have a very successful record. And so if you split these people up, are they still going to be able to continue that success? I think with Ben Johns and a couple of these other high level players, I think they can carry almost anybody. But once you start getting maybe 5 to 10 or so, they're not going to be able to see the same results. But I think Dylan is one of those top 5 players.
Yeah. So if Dylan played with Catherine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is he in the gold medal match pretty much every week against Ben Hanley?
You would think, yeah. But do men's. Do somebody for men's.
Well, it just depends on who it is, right? If it's Riley,
yeah,
sure. If it's if it's J-Dub, obviously. If it's Thomas, I think they're up there. I think anybody in the top 10, he's good enough to play with anyone in the top 10 to be there, to be right there.
Yeah.
And there's some rumors that J-Dub might play with Tardio a couple tournaments this year.
Yeah.
If that happens, then we'll see Dylan with some other people.
Yeah.
And we'll see how he does without J-Dub. I also know that Dylan is playing with Tyra.
Mm-hmm.
Some tournaments in mixed. And if that's the case, I think that, as long as Tyra continues on the trajectory that she's on, and keeps improving, then we'll see how good Dylan can be in mixed. So.
Okay. Awesome. Is the PPA schedule set for 2024?
Yes, for now.
For now.
There are a couple TBDs on there.
Huh?
Weren't there a couple TBDs still on there, like 1 or 2?
There's always TBDs. Stuff is always getting added,
stuff gets changed
at the last minute.
Yeah, then some. What was canceled? The tournament was canceled this year. I can't remember what it was. Right.
Yeah. All right.
I got a question. How do I get you guys to promote a product? Reach out to us, email us, reach out to us on Instagram. Tell us about your product.
Do you know how
And
many people? So we worked with a company last week, Reset Pickleball, which is an incredible product. Do
yeah,
you know how many people used our code to try out their product?
no, tell me.
So we had this is only 1 to 2 days after our episode launched. We had over 130 people use our code, and so I'm sure that
That's
number's higher now. But that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
That's like
that is. Thank you guys for supporting us.
yeah,
That's amazing. And obviously, you're going to get a great product in return. So,
yeah. So I thought that was pretty crazy.
yeah. Did you know I went to, by the way, speaking of, did you know I went to the Stance store, Steve Bates?
Oh, nice. Yeah,
It's my guy.
Steve the guy, Steve the
I'm a
man.
big love Stance socks.
Okay, a couple more. This one is from Real Clear Stats. They said,
Okay.
regardless of who won the Super Finals, best Premier Team of Season 1 and best team of Season 2.
Okay.
Who
So
would those
season
be,
one.
and then who would win?
So season one at Seattle. I think
Okay,
that was,
so
I would put,
that was me, Ben, Etta, and Megan. So Ben
yes. I would,
Johns, Etta Wright, Megan,
yeah.
and me, Tyler.
Yeah.
All right,
And
Season 2.
then season two, I'm going to go with Orlando over
Really?
Chicago. Yeah. I think they beat DC twice, right? If you count, they beat them once in a final and then they beat them once in the super final.
Yes,
They
but they
did,
were also down 0-2
yeah,
in one
but
of them. But yeah, they
yeah.
did win.
And then they did lose to Ben, obviously in Chicago, but they were up 2-0. I just think that if they play Chicago 8 out of 10, if they play Chicago 10 times, they beat them 8, maybe
I
7.
wouldn't even put Chicago in there. I'd put it would
I would
be
be,
Orlando and DC.
me too. And so I'm going to say Orlando. So if Seattle Pioneers played the Orlando Squeeze,
Mm-hmm.
it would be really hard to bet against the Pioneers because they have Ben Johns, obviously.
Yeah.
And of course, I think that Megan and Etta against Anna and Rachel would be a freaking great. I mean, that'd just be battle for days, right? I'm not sure if ball gets slowed down. You and Ben, I take you over Zane and ASQ 10 out of 10 if I had to put my life savings on it. And then Ben and Etta against. Yeah, I mean, I think Ben and Etta, obviously, I think you guys, the thing with you guys is you have 2 guaranteed wins. You have
Yeah.
Ben and mixed, right? And then you have you and Ben and men's.
Yeah.
And if it went to a dream breaker, it would be interesting because you and Ben are obviously good singles players, but their women are better singles players than yours.
Does Rachel play singles?
Well, no, but she's fresh tennis player. That's why, I mean, she's fresh off a SEC championship at South Carolina. So I feel like being a fresh tennis player as opposed to being 7, 8 years removed gives you a little bit of an advantage.
Okay.
In singles, then obviously Anna's a good singles player. She's a great singles player when she wants to play it. So I would say, but I would give the Seattle Pioneers the edge.
All right.
Me.
Is Chirpy? Do you think that would ever happen where they do like only they have like the teams reunite for like
Yeah,
the
they
top?
should.
They should.
Wouldn't it be sick if DC, Orlando, Seattle, and the Mad Drops all got together for a tournament like in the end of January?
Yeah.
Like that would be awesome. Who wouldn't
Yeah.
watch that?
Yeah.
And then you do like 2 wild cards. It could be the 5s from season 1, right? That was a
Yeah.
good James, Leia, Annalie, and Hayden.
Yeah.
And then you could do like one more wild card, which I would probably say would be. It can't be the Slice because Ben can only play on one team. But Miami. Put Miami in there.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be pretty fun, actually.
Okay. Tyler and Jim Kloss versus Jilly B and Jimmy Miller. Who wins?
Oh, me and Jilly
Me
B
and
would.
Klaus for sure.
Oh, are you kidding
Dude, he
me?
would serve you with papers so quick, you wouldn't know what to do with those.
Are we talking pickleball or life?
We're talking life, we're talking pickleball, everything. We would win every single time.
If we're talking about pickleball, Jilly B and I wreck Klaus.
Not a chance.
You don't touch a ball.
You don't know who Klaus is. He's a good player.
Jilly B,
You're a fan of his, huh?
we can say what
Thank you for being a
everybody's a
fan
fan.
of his.
Did you
Thank
see
you for
him
being
going
a fan
off?
of his.
Him and Lucy going at it.
Thank you for being a fan of his.
Did you see his Christmas gift post?
I did.
Bro, it's 2023. I don't know if we can talk about, I don't know if it's cool to talk about mental health.
Thank you for being a fan of his.
Okay, listen. We can say whatever we want about Jilly B, but she is a good pickleball player. She has her moments.
I'm confused right now. You used to talk so much stuff on her, and then all of a sudden you're changing.
Well, if she's going to be my teammate, I got to pump her up.
Big Pickle has really gotten to you. I take it. I take everything back.
If she's going to be my teammate, I got to pump her up. But
all right,
Jill, I'll be honest. I do eye roll. Sorry.
Somebody said, "What are you working on this off season?" So I read this question and I kind of did a double take. It kind of made me smile because our off season is all of about another 3 weeks or so. And so for those next few weeks, I'll be working on what I have been working on. My backhand, I'm really working on being aggressive, and my backhand cross court. I've had up till now just kind of a slice, my famous or infamous slice, but now I'm starting to add in a topspin roll, which has been pretty effective in my practice so far.
You feel good about it?
I'm probably 80% there on my topspin roll. Yeah.
That's dope.
Okay.
Jeannie gets to see it firsthand.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really hope we win our first one, and then we play somebody great, Ben and Annalie or Catherine or something like that on center court. Yeah. I'd like to get the first one in, though. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
But this is her first, this is literally her first tournament ever playing.
Yeah. This isn't like somebody that's even played 5-0s tournaments.
Yeah. So.
I know.
All right.
Interesting.
Somebody said, what are the chances the merger gets called off?
There's always a chance. These things are fluid.
I would say 20% now.
Yeah, I would say probably 80. Yeah. I do think that there's a world where you have a large percentage of players that refuse cuts, and, it doesn't seem viable, and Dundon gets mad and says, F it, this is a hobby for me, and calls the whole thing off. Right? And I do think that there's a world where MLP says, you know what, we're going to run with our crew and see if we can make this work, and calls it off. I don't know. We don't know. It changes day to day. But as of right now, what we do know is that they are actually working, at least like the people that are not the owners per se, but the people that execs of MLP are working fairly seamlessly hand in hand with PPA to try and get this done.
Okay. Somebody said, why does Jessie Irvin always play so far off the kitchen line? Pros versus cons of her positioning. Thoughts?
Well, it is an interesting thing, but I think that that's a common theme. I was a few weeks ago, I was talking to Jackie Kawamoto, and she wasn't going to be at a tournament that Jade was playing in. And she said, it was nationals. And she was at MLP and she had to leave or whatever. And she said, hey, if you see Jade, make sure you tell Jade, stay on the line. She's like, she's going to get mad at you and she's going to roll her eyes and be annoyed, but tell her to stay on the line. And I was like, okay. And I think that that's a common thing for pros, right? Like your natural, and all pickleball players, your natural reaction is to back up. I would say
you see it a lot more on the female side.
Yeah. Yeah, the ball's coming fast. It's coming hot. Your natural reaction is to back up and give yourself more time.
Yours is because you're afraid of the ball, but not everybody is.
Well, for me, yeah. But,
you stand at the baseline.
Yeah, I keep backing up until I'm all the way off the court in the stands. Then I'm like, go. But I think that's why I think that Jessie, it's just maybe a little bit of a habit. Maybe she feels like, her hands aren't as quick as they used to be. I honestly don't know. That'd be a good question. And
So I have played with her, and she definitely does stand off the line quite a bit. I will say there's quite a few females that I'm aware of that do this. The pros to it are number one, the ball is going to be slower. It's going to have more time to get to you, so you have more time to react to it. The
yeah,
cons is going to be that also. So you're going to miss out on opportunities to take the ball and speed it up and take away time from your opponents.
you're almost telling, like, basically saying that all I can do with this ball is reset,
Yeah. It's
because
going to
it's
be
really,
very hard to speed up balls and be effective with those balls when you're speeding them up when you're so far off the line. But
yeah, you're
also
not,
on the flip side, it's going to be harder for people to speed up you because you're so far
yeah.
back.
So Yana does it too.
Yeah,
Yana,
Anna Lee does it.
Annalie, yeah. And so it does make it harder. It also makes it a lot harder for you to counter, right?
Yes.
Because now you're backed up, and now you're essentially, the ball's, I mean, it sounds stupid, but the ball's traveling further to get to your opponent.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Somebody said, would PPA ever consider bringing the tour to Europe?
I think so. I think
That would
that
be awesome.
I think that as long as there is um, a demand for it, for sure.
I
It
would
sounds like
imagine
this.
instead of, well, I mean, it would be them bringing it the tour, but I could see them partnering with a tournament that's already existing over there and then
Yeah.
just kind of building it up and promoting
I
it.
mean, ATP went to England.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Australia would be cool.
All right, we've got to answer this question. I don't know if you saw it, but this is from Neil Metarata. He said, did you see an APP tournament director tell a certain pro that everyone matters but them? I have not seen this, so I'm not actually certain on what he's referring to. Are you? Do you know what he's referring to?
No, I heard about this, but I didn't get details on it. But I
Okay.
will definitely get details. And I freaking love potato chip Neil.
Okay, let's do like two or three more questions. As other pro sports, do you think pro pickleball should disclose what players make?
Um, yeah, absolutely.
You know
Why not?
what pretty much all the players make.
Yeah, I think I know it, but I think that if it was disclosed, that, yeah, I mean, Otani gets his contract, and literally within seconds of him signing that big deal, everyone's like 10 years, 400 million. They knew all the terms. They knew what was how much money was deferred, everything. So yeah, I think so. But I think that's part of having a union where players share those things so that they can have their own negotiations.
Yeah.
Um, where, obviously with this, I don't know if Ben Johns wants anybody to know what he makes at this point.
Okay. Two more questions. Somebody said, with his performance in MLP this year, has Andre, and I'm assuming they're referring to Andre Diescu, made it in the
Yeah,
top 5 in men's doubles?
no, he hasn't.
Why?
Well, because he's not doing it in PPA events either. When he plays in PPAs, he doesn't play in a lot of them, but he does play in some. He's not having great results. He's the APP king. He's found his niche. This was like when J Dub and Dylan stayed in APP, right? They were just dominating everybody in APP for that year,
Yeah.
you know. And then they were like the first Vibe guys or whatever. But
Yeah.
like he's not doing it in PPAs consistently against the top players in the world.
Yeah.
MLP we do know is different. It's a team event. It's a little bit different. He's doing well in that, and so I think that he's definitely creeped his way into the top 10, maybe top 12. But I think there needs to be more consistency, you know, against the Rileys. Even not, I mean, and I'm not even talking the Bens and Collins and the J Dubs and Dylans, but the Rileys, the Tysons, the Thomas Wilsons, those guys.
100%. All right. Somebody said, do you think ALW and Ben will not win as many Triple Crowns next year?
I just don't know who beats them.
I don't see Ben winning as many Triple Crowns. I don't know who's beating Annalie.
Yeah.
No, nobody's beating her in singles. Nobody at this moment.
Nope. Yeah.
Mixed doubles is going to be
Maybe it's
very
Jeannie
difficult.
Bouchard.
Huh?
Maybe it's Jeannie Bouchard.
That would be incredible. I'd love to see more competition on the women's side.
Yeah. Dude, women's
Yeah.
singles, like there's no other way to put it, but women's singles sucks right now.
Yeah.
It's not deep. In fact, I think APP women's singles might be better than PPA, other than the top 2 or 3 players.
Yeah.
You need more depth. Like they need some of these tennis players, they do need to come over and start playing because there needs to be depth.
Ben, I mean, I think he's still going to be very dominant, but just Triple Crowns, the vast majority of people don't understand what it takes. I mean, I don't even understand what it takes, but for people to Triple Crown, it's very impressive.
But his loss is going to come in singles. It's not going to come in men's doubles, most likely.
I think men's or singles will come in,
but not mixed.
Not mixed.
Like
I mean, he might lose once or twice in mixed, but not many.
You're talking like 10% chance in singles of him losing, 5%.
I would even go up to 15 or 20. I mean, singles is tough. Singles is really tough.
Yeah, so even if it's 20, but it's like 5%.
On any given day, the number 10, number 8 player, if they're playing well, they can have wins.
I mean, like with Hayworth, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on double side, I mean, it's tricky.
Yeah. If they get to championship Sunday, it's almost a lock. But if you can get them early, which is what made the PPA final so interesting, is because their first match of the day is a top level team.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, last question, then we'll end here. Let's see. Also, we forgot to do one of our sponsors, so we apologize for that. This one is brought to you. So this last question will be brought to you by Acacia Shoes, and their website is acaciashoes.com. Jimmy, I'm not here to hold up my shoes, but tell us about Acacia Shoes.
So I actually, again, played pickleball in my Acacias today. They are durable. They are designed specifically for pickleball. They're lightweight. They look good. Honestly, they're comfortable. Super comfortable shoes. So definitely check them out. Acaciasports.com.
Oh, man. Did I say shoes? It's acaciasports.com. Yep. And it's code KOTC at checkout, and you're going to save yourself a little bit of money. Also, I think they still have their holiday promotion still going on. Check it out if they do. Incredible savings. If not, you're still getting a great product. So check it out. Use code KOTC at acaciasports.com. All right. For this last question, it says, for Tyler, what are some of your strategies for managing pressure and expectations from yourself and others? That's a great question. How should I manage expectations, Jimmy?
Well, I think for others, you don't have to worry. Don't worry about what other people think, right? You got to do your best. But for yourself, you a goal. Like it's the end of the year. Are you a goal setter? Like, do you set goals?
Yeah.
You have personal goals, like professional goals, life goals.
Exactly. Yeah, all the above. I think one of the things is experience and practice. I mean, I talk about this all the time, but the more experience and the more practice you have, the more routine and the easier it's going to be putting yourself in those situations. There's so many people that they play incredible in practice, and then they go out there in tournaments and they play like Jimmy's level, like a 3-0 or something like that, whereas when they're normally like a 4-0, 4-5. But yeah, I mean, if you practice more, it's just going to feel a lot more natural. And then also goals. If you can set realistic goals and look at those and really work to achieve those, I think that helps quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that you just, and the thing is don't worry, like I said, don't worry about what other people think and manage your own expectations. You know what you're trying to reach, what level you're trying to reach. You know what you need to do to reach that level. You've been doing this for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
Right. And so you know what it takes. And, if you don't reach that, you have nobody to blame but yourself. But by the way, just to be clear, I had multiple people say, dude, you're better at pickleball than I thought. Tyler talks about how bad you are.
Well, so that's because I'm saying you're a 2.5. And so if they're expecting you to be a 2.5 and you show up a 3.0 or maybe a 3.5, then obviously that's better than what they're thinking.
Tyler's talking about how bad you are and we're expecting you to be awful.
They haven't played with you. That's what I'm going to say.
No, they did play with me. They did play with me. I was freaking slaying it.
Yeah, against 3.5s. It doesn't count against lower level players.
Listen, I just want you to know that most people, the majority of people said that they were pleasantly surprised.
because they have this mindset, this picture that you're a 2.5. So anything above a 2.5, they think, oh, that's impressive.
All right.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
Oh, bro, you're in Hawaii. Go enjoy Hawaii.
Hawaii's great. Hawaii
It's
is
only 7 o'clock there.
8, 8:23.
Go get your loco moco. Your what else? Where are you eating? Where are we eating tomorrow?
We went to the Monkey Pot today, which is actually
Okay.
really good. Yeah, it's like they have incredible desserts, by the way. A
No.
strawberry shortcake, it's strawberry cheesecake or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Amazing.
Send all your Hawaii suggestions to more King of the Court.
All
Tyler
right.
might be his last day.
Thank you to our sponsors, our title sponsor, The Pickler, C&D Pickleball Nets, Crown Pickleball, and of course, Acacia Shoes. Go support them. Go check them out. They have
Yeah.
incredible products. I will be back this week, and once we get back, we have some really fun and exciting content to wrap up 2023.
Yes.
Let us know if you guys have any suggestions or any ideas or anything else you'd like us to cover. But once again, thank you for following along. If you have made it this far, please do us a big favor and hit that like and subscribe button for more content. Anything else, Jimmy?
No, I think that's it. Thanks for tuning in.
Hopefully we don't continue with these remote pods. I don't enjoy them as much, but I think this one will turn out okay.
I like being able to sit close to you.
Exactly. Somebody's got to keep you in check.
Yeah.
All right.